Good morning. This is the May 29th Site Plan Review Committee meeting. Members present this morning, Dana Baricciafoti from the Assessor's Office, Pat DeMarco, Code Consultant for the Building Department, Ben DeCristoforo, Building Inspector, Frank Stringy, City Planner, Nick Rystrom, City Engineer, Paul Cheevers, Fire Prevention, and Mark Locke, Plumbing Inspector. The first item on the agenda is site plan for 61 Gage Ave. 61 Gage. Hi, have a seat. Yes, come on, have a seat and present the plan. Okay, what are you proposing to do?
I'm a friend of the family. They are planning to go back to the original subdivision, which is back from 1910, where the land was set up. They want to go back and then put the subdivision in the lot, which is here.
You split the lot? You have a structure on it here. What do you intend on doing?
Yeah, they're planning to remove the building, and then they want to subdivide the lot to return it back to its original state, to the two lots, 430 and 431.
Right, this is the second time they've come. They've come before, and we've discussed to them what their options were and what the circumstances were, but they chose to come back.
You can't do this. You already have a structure on it. The lot is created. You can't reduce
and it's conforming.
You can't reduce a conforming lot to a non-conforming lot. You create two non-conforming lots. So if these lots were vacant and there were no structure on it, you may have a case. But right now, as it's a developed lot, you can't do anything further with it.
Okay. So, I mean, the intent is they're not planning to do anything, meaning they're not changing the lot size. The lot's going to be the same exactly as what it was in 1950. This is 1940, where the lot was. So the intent is they're going to be removing the building and going back to the subdivision. That's
you can't do that. It's not allowed. You lost the rights of those lots being qualified lots once the building was constructed. The homeowner at the time made a determination that they wanted to combine the lots to create one buildable lot. So they lost any protection that they had prior to that.
This is 1954 when they did the combined. I don't know what their reason was to combine it. You guys probably know.
Well, they built a structure that split the lots. They wanted a large structure with a large land. You can't go back to the way it was.
Even though you're not, you're not creating something new lots, you're going back to this sort of original state.
But unfortunately, you have to meet today's zoning requirements, which is an 8,000 square foot lot minimum size. You cannot.
8,000.
Correct. You cannot decrease that. You cannot. Basically, you cannot conform that or convert that into two non-conforming lots.
Okay, even though you're going back to this original state, that doesn't qualify.
That doesn't qualify because that was in the past, and now the new zoning regulations. You're trying to do something in today's day and age, and you have to meet these requirements, these zoning dimensional requirements, which is 8,000 square feet and 80-foot frontage.
What is it?
8,000 square feet.
Okay.
Minimum lot size with 80-foot frontage.
80 foot.
On a developed lot, yes.
If you want to make sure.
That was then. That was back then. No. Those lots were vacant. This lot lost its protection when it was developed. I don't know how many years ago. When it was developed.
Probably in 1954, Frank, when they merged.
Yeah.
No, he's talking about the
lots
lots in the back.
Yeah, well, the lots in the back were vacant lots. It's a different type scenario.
They're about
To meet the qualified lot, in essence, the grandfather lot statute, you have to have certain requirements. And this does not meet that because of the fact that it's developed. The lots have merged, and it's now a developed lot, which meets all the dimensional requirements.
So basically, it's a conforming lot.
Right.
It conforms to the current zoning standards. You can't make it non-conforming once it's conforming. Okay? That's, well, you have to do what you have to do. This is what the situation is. You purchased this property, I don't know when, but is it a two-family?
Right now, it's one family.
Well,
So
you could
you
convert it
can-
to a
you
two-family.
can make that-
That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, you can make this a two-family, yes. So, yeah, they've come before us a number of times. So you can make this a two-family on that lot. So you have a developed, you have a structure there right now, that can be a two-family.
Yeah, can we do like side by side?
Yes, you can.
They're like a townhouse.
But you,
Yes.
yes, but you can do a maximum of 2 units, that's it, no more,
Right.
on that one lot. Yes, you could do that,
Yeah.
yes. I think that's what you originally proposed.
But you know, the engineers and the blueprint, that, but I don't have an idea, that's what he's.
Yeah, I understand, I mean,
Yeah, by looking at the back,
I understand you wanted to pursue that avenue, but now it's impractical or impossible for you to do that. And you can propose something of putting it to, are you gonna take the structure down and rebuild it? Or are you gonna convert that's,
he's talking to his architect right now.
okay.
Yeah.
So propose that and come back,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your best,
yes,
that's your best route of action.
yes.
Very good.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Site plan for 529 Broadway.
We have a couple of people here, the engineer and the architect. Katie, you want to sit here? This is,
You can grab another chair and squeeze
yeah.
in.
We were here last week for 529 Broadway, and for a preliminary site plan, and you had a few suggestions for us to change a few things, and the engineer and the architect have addressed those, so I'll turn it over to Joe Tatone and let him tell you what we did to bring it up to speed.
All right.
Hi, my name is Joe Tatone. Thank you for speaking with us today. The architect on the project. So, as you know, I was not here last week when it was brought up, but a couple of things that were addressed were the dumpster location originally was over in this location. We've got 2 dumpsters, one for the commercial, one for the residential. So at least what we're anticipating at this point. And so this one, the fire department had asked that be kind of moved out of the parking area more towards the edge of the property. So we've got it shown over here. It actually graphically needs to be pulled forward so that we've got the 10-foot clearance from the property line, but we obviously do with the front of the parking line. This is over here. So we can do that. The other issue that was brought up by the fire department, I think by the council in general, was the travel lane. We had 20 feet, I think, here and maybe on this side too as well, Katie? Just on that side. So that's been increased to 22. We originally had a 10-foot buffer area here, and that's now 6 feet to gain the space. So we've got 22 feet of clear travel access through the parking lot in all locations. And another issue that was brought up was the rear entrance off of School Street, the project entrance. What we are anticipating is having a sliding gate there. There'll be fence along the property line and a sliding gate. And the anticipation is, I know that the fire department wants access to that space to be able to get into from School Street as opposed to Broadway. And what we're anticipating is having the gate, when the fire alarm actuates, that the gate would open automatically, and then also give them key fob, remote control, some other manual access as well.
We could talk about that. What we could do is we can actually do a Knox key.
Yeah,
We have a Knox-
whatever you
Knox
think is
system in the
gonna-
city. We got a couple of active gates that we can just open with a Knox key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the fire alarm actuation makes sense, I'm sure that's something that we can work out.
We could talk about that.
Yeah. So we can work out how that works best for you to provide the access that you need. And then I think that was most of it.
Yeah, they increased the size from 20 to 22 so that we could have two-way traffic there coming and going out the front.
That's all the traffic aisles.
Yes.
They were all 20, now they're 22.
Some of them were narrowed down to 20, now all of them are 20.
Now them comply, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay. Well, the number, there's 40 units of residential. That's on floors 2 through 5. So there's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each of those floors has 10 units. They're all one-bedroom units. And then right now we're anticipating.
You said about 5,600 square feet of retail.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that were brought up is right now what you're showing is the footprint for the retail space. The residential space actually extends over the entrance. So we actually about the clearance distance between the pavement and the underside of the residential space.
Right. So we have, right now, the way we've got the building shown, we're just under the 50-foot height limit by a couple inches. If we are to provide a higher clearance here,
Yeah.
then we would have to raise the building height just because our floor to floors. I mean, we can look at what we could possibly do here structurally, but I don't think we can gain. We're about 11 feet clear, maybe a little bit less than that right now. So it's, you know, it's difficult for us to gain that additional clearance space just structurally to make everything fit without the building getting taller.
But
12 and a half.
13.
Yeah, I mean, we might be able to get like 12 and a half. That I can explore. I mean, I was wondering, is it more for emergency vehicles as opposed to fire vehicles that you're concerned
Emergency vehicles are fire vehicles. So,
Well, I
yes.
wasn't sure if you meant like ambulance versus, you know, if there's a fire in the building, I wouldn't think you would be necessarily driving under the building.
Well,
to
here's the
access
thing,
it.
if I can't get in this way, then it changes what you got going on in the back here. Then we have to start talking about turning radiuses through your parking lot, and you're gonna lose a bunch of spots.
Right.
So,
You know, obviously
with the current configuration that you have, opening up the lanes to 22, but still not meeting the 13-foot height distance is gonna be a problem.
Okay. Right, so we'll have to look at what we need to do to make that work.
Magic number 50 is what? Broadway?
50, yes. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I don't know the dimensional requirements, so
Yeah.
I'm just wondering where the magic number of 50 came from. So that's what Broadway is.
Yeah, that's the general business district height requirement. It's 50 feet. So let's talk about other zoning compliance. So you're reducing the buffer zone from 10 to 6 in the parking lot?
This buffer zone was 10, it only had to be 6.
6, yeah.
So we're not trying to pick anything. We picked up 4 feet there that we had extra.
Okay.
We didn't cut into, we only needed 6, we have 6.
What about for the driveway side of the building?
Driveway side didn't.
You still maintaining 6 coming in?
There was 22 here already.
Oh, there was?
There was
With the
20,
6
the
feet.
20, it narrowed down inside.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
was the only location, correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, this was the only location that had 20 as opposed to 22.
Okay. So the relief you would be seeking would be front yard setback and parking spaces.
Front yard setback for residential.
Yes, and if you need to raise that elevation under the building, you may have to exceed the
Ask
fifth
for a
height
height, yeah.
by 1 foot.
No,
Up to
it might be a couple.
It might be up to 2.
Might be,
Yeah.
might be 3 feet, depending on the height that you need, because we have close to 11 now, but
Yeah.
what are you saying, Paul?
13
Is there a-
feet.
13. So you're
13 is
looking at
the
two.
requirement?
12 and a half in the code.
12 and a half in this zone?
Yeah.
All right, so that's only a couple feet then,
Yeah,
yeah. Right.
I think if we were to say 2 feet to be safe,
Okay,
and
say
then we'll try to keep it as minimal as possible.
Say 2.5 feet, just in case because of insulation, whatever, might bring it down.
Well, that's already a fire rated petition anyway, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna be over the
the
top.
first floor is gonna be a steel frame with 3-hour rated construction.
So you already got that kind of far in your design, so you're
Yes.
really looking.
Yeah, I
2
mean, we
feet.
haven't gone as far as doing all the structural engineering,
Yeah.
but, you know, I've got, I think, safe assumptions for the floor thickness. It's gonna be a concrete slab, steel frame.
Got it.
And then, you know, we know we've got to have fireproofing on the beams, and then we're gonna have a finished ceiling under that space as well, covering all of that. And likely it would be sprinkled with a dry system.
Right.
Anything that's under the building.
Yep.
and exposed.
Yeah, so you're looking at 2 feet. All right.
2.5 feet is not far, you would think,
2.
3.
I mean, I'm not sure if it makes much difference
Put
as far
any
as.
decorative stuff under there.
No, there wouldn't be anything hanging down. The only thing, you know, we'd have concealed sprinkler heads. And I think if we said 2.5,
All right.
that-
Those are your numbers.
Okay, so those are the changes that were made since last plan.
Those were the changes that were requested. We moved the dumpster over to the other side of the lot where it isn't in the parking lot, you know, it isn't on where the people are parking. We opened up the driveway to 22 feet. And what else did we do? We did
The gate.
something. Oh, yeah, the gate, the sliding gate, the gate that's activated by the alarm, so there won't be a cut through. Jimmy, the police chief was worried about there being a cut through, so if we put a sliding gate, put a Knox box, and maybe have it connected to the fire alarm that it opens automatically, and if it fails, he'll have a Knox box key. So that's basically what we changed, what you asked for.
Water and sewer services from Broadway, not School Street, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Were these plans uploaded to e-permitting? The revised plans? No?
Do you get an elevation, take a look at an elevation?
Sure. So this is the 4 elevations of the building. This is the front elevation. This is where the drive-through from Broadway to the back parking lot would be. The retail entrances along the front, and then the 4 stories of residential. Right now we have, this is our 49-foot 8 or something, our building height, and then we've got a cornice line that varies in height. I think the highest at this point is about 4.5 feet from the building, the top roof surfaces, which is what the,
You allow a parapet?
yeah, so the parapet. So we can look at reducing the parapet height and kind of, you know, bringing that down as well. That's going to be part of my exercise, is to try to, even though we may be bringing the roof height itself up, if I can minimize the parapet so the apparent height stays the same or very similar, that's the intention.
Excuse me, if we get a 2.5-foot variance to raise this up,
Right.
will the parapet still remain at 5 feet? It would still
Yes.
remain at 5 feet, so
Yeah.
that we would have, because the aesthetics of the building,
Right.
the parapet makes it look a lot better.
Right, you don't want to jeopardize the look of the building.
Yeah,
Doesn't
right.
matter.
He has a nice design there, and we wouldn't want to, you know, dumb it down just
Right.
a couple feet, you know?
So I have a question. You have a couple projections in the front.
Yes.
Is that beyond the foundation line, or is
No,
that?
so what we're looking at is, this is the plane that we're showing at the property line.
Yep,
These projections are actually flush with
with the
the
front
main
property
plane.
line, yeah.
And then these
Are
sections
set back.
are actually
Yep.
set
Okay.
back 2 feet from the main
Yep.
plane. So it looks, you know,
Yep.
it's reading as projections as you
Yep.
notice, but these are all in plane with the main line, so
Right.
there's nothing hanging over at that point. And then overhangs that we have on the side, and you can kind of make it out on this side,
Yep.
And, those are projecting past the building line, but those are within the setbacks. So we don't have anything, other than the front setback, there's nothing else projecting over a setback line.
And we talked about signage, that you want a certain type of a light over the signs. You told me that before.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that when we get to the
Final,
final,
we'll get to that part.
final plans. Right now, just for zoning relief, that's your next step.
Right.
And you'll come back to this committee if you get the relief, and we'll work from there. We'll do the final
Any
site
other
plan.
questions? Anyone else?
It's sort of unrelated to this, but on the stores,
Yes.
is your intention to rent to like a restaurant, maybe,
To a what?
restaurant, maybe?
No, we've talked about restaurants. It complicates building construction, venting, issues with neighbors. So right now, that's off the table. That's not something.
The only thing is that he is going to offer the spaces that we have to the current tenants, and there is a fast food takeout there. It's not a sit-down, well, I guess they do sit down in there, but not, it's not a big restaurant type of
The
deal.
reason I'm saying is because they have to run rented, reported,
Right, and that's,
Yeah.
As well as a grease interceptor, Mark.
Yeah.
yeah,
Grease interceptor, so keep that in mind.
yeah.
Well, we discussed that already as far as how much room that would take up.
Yeah.
And if anything, it couldn't be a full-blown restaurant. You know, just coffee.
Because
stuff.
they're cooking.
Right,
Yeah.
it's going to
No,
have
no,
the,
It's going to be full.
black steel vent.
How small it is,
Yeah.
but, that's something to think about that.
yeah. We've had the
And,
discussions, and I think it's,
Okay, well, that's it. So your next step, you
So
know,
wait for your letter,
yes,
and then apply,
apply and proceed from there.
proceed from there.
Okay?
All right, you all set?
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you, gentlemen.
Excuse me? Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You knew it was mine, huh? All right.
I need a copy of the revised.
That's the old
new
one.
plan. I need
That's
the new
old
plan.
one. Joe, Frank needs a copy of the new plan.
Okay. Well, I can give you copies of.
The new site plan.
Elevations or just the site?
No, just the site plan.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is
See you later. Be well.
Ridge Road. Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think I got everything today. Hopefully. Congratulations. Oh, thank you.
This is construction of a two-family on
Yes.
parcels 24, 25, 23, and part 22. Ridge Road. We don't have an address to this. Do we?
Not yet.
No.
It should be like across from
315,
311.
it's across from 315.
So last time you came, we need the plot plan and a copy of the variance.
There's a variance,
Yeah.
was recorded last year.
Thank you.
Plot plan, I have it behind these plans, so I can give you the individual plot plan, whichever way you want it.
Yeah. Okay, the concern was the elevation and the building, the height, from average grade and number of stories. And,
I think they got some of the stories.
oh, you did for number of
Discussed that, yeah, we
stories.
discussed that last.
So do we have an elevation plan with the average height?
Drawings. Your
Yeah.
guy takes drawings.
All the ground right here.
Yeah.
Here's the variance, Frank.
Flip this around quite a bit.
Take a good look at that.
Number of building stories.
All the other.
These are all structural. My guess is they're all structural, Frank. Is there architecture?
It was.
So the structurals anyway. Find the architecturals.
Is that-
So you were here last week. This is going to be a poured-in-place wall.
We talked about the back could also be foundation and retaining.
Is there a section? That looks like
There's a
block.
section on the structural.
It does look like block.
For the retaining wall?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
the actual foundation is an entire retaining wall, designed, right?
What about that little wing wall in the part, near the park? Is that parking, or, no, that's not, where the stairs
That's
go?
a side.
Is that put in place as well?
No, I talked to Carmen the other day, they're talking about doing those blocks there, Benny,
Yeah.
Okay.
you know?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Right, that's what they're talking about doing.
And it's gonna basically attach to the put in place foundation.
It's actually going to be separate, all right?
Separate.
It's going to be separate, exactly.
And what is that for? That's.
Just for parking and to get stairs down the side, egress, because the egress comes off the sides of the building.
Where's the site plan? No, that's not that much.
It's on the,
Total of,
Right,
so this is a separate design for the block section?
this is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
That's
yes.
in here somewhere?
Right now, it's just,
I don't think so. You're gonna have.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
You can see it on this
Yeah.
drawing too.
right,
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
here.
that's good.
yep.
So you'll have to provide a design for that portion of the wall as well?
Correct, correct.
So the only sidewalk that's going to exist is in between the two driveways.
Correct.
Why are the two driveways?
The-
Two-family house.
I mean, they got relief for everything.
The driveway width?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah.
we want to continue the streetscape along the building, so, I mean, we do have room to put 2 street trees here in the front of the house.
Hmm?
Because you have no other area, anything, or even one here. Here. That'll be included in the site plan review letter.
Okay.
Your street.
Trees,
streetscape
trees.
Yeah.
Yep,
We can
You know,
show
you're
that.
required to have concrete sidewalks and granite curbing.
right,
So your driveway apron has to be concrete then,
yep,
to conform with the concrete sidewalks.
okay,
Then the rest of the drive is bituminous. But the apron within the right-of-way has to be concrete.
Right.
With granite curb butts, granite curbing.
Okay.
That'll all be in the site plan review report. Okay.
Are you, the little wall that's here for the turnaround, you're not moving that?
say that again? No, that's not being touched. That's not being touched, no,
Touch it. I'm not even.
nope.
So.
The other thing is that the plan stamped by a structural engineer for the walls,
Mhm.
city engineer to review.
Right. Yeah,
Get
he's-
those to him as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's doing that now, I talked to him the other day.
Okay.
So what is this? Is that for an elevation here?
For an elevation right here.
So that's one door.
Yeah, it's one door.
One door, 2 entrances. I know last week you mentioned we could do 2 now. Originally it was 1. And I wasn't gonna change because too much money and time is.
That's fine.
All right, so look for your site plan review report. It'll be, this is on e-permitting, right? You filed this on e-permitting. The site plan review report will be submitted through e-permitting. It'll be
Right.
emailed directly to whoever the applicant was.
Right,
Probably my daughter. She's the one that applied for this
All right,
meeting.
so tell her to look for that email, and that's,
Well, so once you get that email will give you the ability to apply for your building permit, or your foundation permit.
but, yeah, exactly. Yeah, then I'll get the stuff in common as far as the retaining walls after the fact.
Yeah, so
Because
so you have your structural drawings right now for the foundation
We have the
itself,
structurals for the foundation,
and those-
correct.
Yeah, just get additional drawings for the, whatever those supporting walls are
Yeah,
going to be.
exactly, no problem.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you, Frank. You guys need that? You have it. It's up to you.
No, I just need the site plan.
All right,
That's fine.
got it back there.
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
that.
All right.
You have a copy of the site plan that I can?
Another copy of the
You have
site
another
plan?
one?
Absolutely.
You
Right
have one?
behind the last page of one of these. Just take one right out.
There's another one there.
Yeah, it should be somewhere. You
You're all
can take it
set.
out.
Take care.
After last week, we got a bunch of them now,
I bet.
make sure.
Mr. D'Amato. Thank you. I will, thanks.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, next site plan for 701 Broadway. All right.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
Thank you.
So we were here before. We're trying to start a new child learning center. We tried on 12 Hitzal Avenue, but we had an issue with the parking. So we found this place on 701 Broadway. The total area is going to be 1,500 square feet. Based on that, they have like 6 parking spaces back in the building. They have a convenience store right now.
What's their convenience
Convenience
store?
store,
Grocery store.
Some parking in the back.
Yeah, they have some parking over there.
We have, there is parking spaces like there, I believe it is light parking or meter parking on the street.
In the street.
We just, before starting everything, we just be sure that we meet all the requirements with the city in order to start the process. As we explained before, we start, if the city approves the site, we have to go to the state to apply for the license on the site. We just want to be sure that the place meets all the requirements.
All right. Is this a mixed-use building, or is it just a one-story building that you're using?
It's a 2-story building, but I think upstairs they had a few
One office. Lawyer office.
Lawyer offices.
And you would occupy the entire building?
No, we are going to use just the first floor where the convenience store is right now.
And what would your capacity be? How many children?
The state requires at least 45 square feet for kids. We are going to apply for 25 kids license. So we will use at least 1,200 square feet on the property.
Taking occupying the first floor?
On the first floor.
The first floor.
Yeah, we don't need anything else. We don't use the basement. We don't use upstairs because it's rented. So we need just the main floor.
Do you have that on hand?
Is this that?
Carmichael Realty?
Yeah.
They're in the corner.
It's in the corner, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the.
So Carmichael went into a variety store.
Yeah, he's candles, selling candles or something.
Oh, is it?
Isn't it like Botanica or something or other?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess they're leaving.
Yes, they are leaving.
They're leaving.
Yes.
This is technically, this is.
We just meet with the landlord and
School, yeah.
they suggested just to check with you before starting, any future plans, especially with the parking requirements.
Yeah.
So although you have 6 parking spaces, and they will be designated for use just for the learning center.
Just for the learning center.
Yeah, sure.
So the required parking is 1 space for every, is it 200 square feet? So you have 1,200 square feet
To use for the
used for
learning
the,
center, yes.
and you would meet the parking requirements. Okay.
And that's around the same dimensions for
Okay.
required by the state, to have
All right.
25 kids.
Okay, so your
20
next
and
step is to
25.
come in with a floor plan?
Yes.
And we'll proceed from there. Okay.
So we're going to start the process.
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay,
so
thank
much.
you. Thank you so
Have a
much.
good one.
Good luck.
Site plan review for Revere Beach Boulevard, 127-unit mixed-use development.
Hey, everybody. Morning.
Guys, get those.
So Frank, we're doing these two buildings separately?
I think we'll do them concurrently. So this will be a site plan review because both parcels go together, common ownership of Ocean Avenue and Revere Beach Boulevard, which will comprise a 127-unit mixed-use development and a 73-unit residential building on Ocean Avenue. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Damian Zari with Gate Residential, the proponent, here with David Boyes and the entire design team, Liz Bello, Katie, and everybody else here. So just to give you a quick update in terms of where we are, our appeal period expired yesterday. We had some variances granted for relief for both parking, primarily for parking, but also some dimensional requirements associated with setbacks in the rear building. So that was granted yesterday. So I think we're free and clear in terms of our variances. So this is our first time coming in front of you guys with a little bit more of an advanced design. So I want to take it from there.
Do you have a copy of the decision? Or you don't have it yet?
Did Ashley get you the decision yet? Sorry? Did Ashley get you the decision? Go pick it up right now. It wasn't ready yet, Frank. We just checked this morning. We'll get it to you.
Okay, so we're talking about two sites. The 21 Revere Beach Boulevard site is typically called Lot 3, 4, and 5. It's the long site on Revere Beach Boulevard. And then the site 40 to 50 Ocean Avenue is the site behind, adjacent to the Surfside Lofts. Between the two buildings, there are 200 units. If you look at the first sort of aerial view, you can see the two buildings. And the massing of these buildings, we've looked at this and tried to do a couple different things. We tried to respect the adjacent buildings, so both the Atlantic Towers as well as Surfside. For Atlantic, we've set the building back about, I think we're at about...
It's at 53 feet, I thought.
Yeah, we're over 50 feet. And we've actually bent the building a little bit too, so that the views from Atlantic remain. For Surfside, we actually stepped the building down as we get towards Surfside Lofts. And we have actually pushed the building to the north part of the site as opposed to building up closer to the Surfside Lofts. Both buildings are 5/2 construction, type 3A, full high-rise. They're both between 76 and 77 feet tall, depending on the site grade. But we'll have the full high-rise package for both buildings.
So David, on Ocean, is that residential starts 2 stories up?
Residential starts.
So there's no subsurface parking, right?
Correct, yeah. Okay. So parking is, as Damian mentioned, parking is one of those variances that we did get, and we're at about, depending on how you calculate it, there are some spaces in there that are easement spaces for Atlantic Towers, which won't be used in the near future. So with those included, we're at about a 1.4 ratio for parking. Both sites are tight. So the 40 to 50 Ocean, we've got 2 levels of parking with an internal ramp, and for 20, and that starts at Ocean Avenue and goes up. And you can see the roof deck there that we have on top of the parking. For 21 Revere Beach, we actually have parking, 2 levels of distinct parking. One level is actually accessed from Ocean Avenue. The other level is accessed from Revere Beach Boulevard. And we've talked to DCR about that curb cut, and they're amenable to that curb cut on Revere Beach Boulevard. So one of the things we tried to do, especially on Revere Beach Boulevard, is activate the uses as much as possible on the street. So we've done 3 things. We've got active uses for the residential building, which is lobby, amenity space. The gym would be on that level. We've got a restaurant space at the northern end of the site, and we had talked to Atlantic Towers about, where the best place to put that, and they were favoring moving that to the north side of the site. And then in between, we have what we call sort of seasonal retail spaces. So instead of looking at parking, we've got some spaces for
pop-up retailers that would come in the summertime, in the good weather, and one of those spaces would actually be a building amenity space as well. The exact programming of those, we're not quite there yet, but what we'll do as we develop the design there is we'll work on design elements so that when the building is closed and when those uses aren't being active, it'll be as attractive as it would be in the summertime when you've got vendors both using the space and using that part of the sidewalk. The sidewalk is pretty wide in that area. It's in the range of 17 feet, and Becky's here from Copley Wolf. We can talk about the approach there a little bit more.
So what's your total square footage for commercial space?
So the restaurant is...
the restaurant's 4,500, and then the other kind of short-term retail space that we have in front is about 1,600. Those are rough numbers going up and down.
Yeah, it's actually probably 12 if you take out your
12,
amenity
right.
space.
Exactly, if we take out the amenity space, yep. 12 to 16, depending on the final program.
And your unit breakdown, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom mix?
So we've got 61 two-bedrooms, 25 studios, and then I think that's 114 one-bedrooms. No 3-bedrooms. The units are pretty much sized based on what we've done at 500 Ocean. There are a few that are a little bit different just because of the configuration of the building, but most of the units are very similar. We can come back to civil if we just kind of pop forward. I think we can kind of go quickly over the plans. These just show you the parking. There is an entrance, a street entrance for, obviously for both buildings. Both buildings have street entrances off of Ocean Avenue. The thought process being that these buildings are going to work together and there'll be shared amenities. So there would be a crossing for the 40 to 50 building, which has a lobby that would cross over and connect to both the beach as well as to 21 Revere Beach. We are actually, as part of the site plan too, we're improving beach connection from Ocean Avenue to Revere Beach Boulevard, which is currently kind of a dilapidated boardwalk. We're going to fix that up and make that fully accessible.
And one of the big things was we didn't want this building on Ocean Avenue to feel like it was a rear building. So the idea was to obviously have an increased setback between Atlantic Towers and this building in order to provide some visual connection, then also have that physical connection with a brand new improved boardwalk going straight up. So people who are coming out of this building feel like they're on the beach as well too, which is really important to us. And then this little parking lot right here, that services as short-term parking spaces for first-time residents, taxi drop-off, Uber drop-off, restaurant drop-off. So we wanted that to be kind of centralized and servicing both buildings.
The next plan up would be the Revere Beach Boulevard elevation. You can see there is parking on that level on Revere Beach, but it's as we said, it's lined by either the restaurant at the northern part of the site. In the middle part of the site, you have those pop-up retail spaces, and then at the south, the amenity space.
So you were looking for guys' questions about how you can transition from open half to the full one. And we looked at that small solution to how you make that full one back.
Yes, we have looked at that. So what we'll have is we'll have a small section of 1 in 12 ramp, and then the rest of it would be, it's a very small switchback at Ocean Avenue, and then the rest of it will be 1 in 20. And again, we have some landscape plans here towards the end that we can talk through those. Upper plans, what we have is we have an amenity space and a relatively small pool deck at the southern end of 21 Revere Beach, and then we've got a roof deck on 40 to 50.
And so everyone understands the building kind of overhangs this area. So it's a pretty unique design feature that we haven't seen on the beach yet in terms of that overhang. You can see it better in the three-dimensional work. And then ultimately the elevations when we get there.
And I think we can skip to the elevations at this point. We've got a couple different things here. We've got sort of the progress the start of the technical drawings with the elevations and the sections that talk about the amount of glass that we're proposing and the balconies and the activity along the facade. And we also have some color studies a little bit farther in. This building is really, it's part of the creative district that's been developed for this area, and we see it as an opportunity to incorporate art into the building. So we've done it a couple of different ways, and we can go through those. We've got some other sheets in here to talk about that. Because of the size of the building too, and because of the sort of the different exposures that we have, we're looking at one kind of expression on Revere Beach Boulevard, and then if you flip the back page on, then the next page is the backside on Ocean Avenue. It's a slightly different expression. It will work together. And the smaller building will also have a similar feel, same materials. And these materials are primarily the cementitious, both the panels and the siding. We like the siding in different exposures to give it some texture and some depth. The next sheet is a preliminary color study. We still have some work to do on these, but the idea is that we like the idea of art and the color on Ocean Avenue. This building will be, Revere Beach Boulevard. This building will be perceived from across the beach. The balconies are a really important aspect of it, and by putting color on those, we can highlight those, and creating the color in the retail spaces. Again, we've got to figure out how to close those, and we have some work to do in that area, but this is a preliminary idea in that zone. For the backside, we've had a number of public meetings, including meetings with Surfside Lofts. One of the things we realized is obviously this building is going to sort of impact some of the views from that building. We like the idea of this kind of gradient on the building, which will actually make it feel a little bit smaller and kind of blend it with the sky and the water. So we're planning to achieve that through a series of different color clapboard siding.
Yeah. So how are you going to treat the two levels of parking on the Ocean Ave side right now?
So
how high is that?
So that's in the
Stories.
Yeah, it's about 24 feet. Yeah. So again, we're studying some different things, but right now the thought process is that using concrete block, if you go to 2 pages out, using concrete block, we can get some interesting texture and some interest in the wall. So we're looking at a couple different options, and the idea is that again, our district trying to create something that's different on these buildings. Something that people would actually potentially want to come and see. We call it the Instagram moment, where people want to come and take a photo next to this. We've thought about whether we engage an artist to do a mural. It's kind of a one-time thing. Our hope is that this approach changes over the course of the day with light, both in terms of shadow and in terms of nighttime. So what we've got illustrated right now, and you can see some of the studies we've done on the next page. What we've got illustrated is a cross between adding texture with some of the dimensional block. And again, we're still researching it. Right now, we're thinking that we like the diamond pattern block that's on Frank's sheet right there.
Yeah, very nice.
And then we're also thinking that we have some inset block, which would be potentially glass block or a color. The thought there is that the dimensional block gives you shadow during the day. The glass block would give you light both in the garage during the day, and at night we could light that to give the building a very different feel at nighttime.
Would this material carry towards the front, or no, just the rear?
There really isn't a lot in the front because
Right.
because we've got the
That's what I'm
active
saying.
uses. Yeah,
Is
we
that-
wouldn't do that
carry it to
there.
the front?
No.
So David, these insets, are these the pop-up retail?
Correct.
So it's all within that structure?
Right. The hope is that they can spill out during the day and take up a little more sidewalk, but at the end of the day, they would be contained within that structure.
But yeah, and we think one of those, as David mentioned, would be a building amenity. It could be kind of a lounge area for people who are in
you
the
had
building,
mentioned that,
hanging right on the boardwalk.
Nice.
So there wouldn't be any sewer service, but there would be water service to those?
Yes, yeah, we haven't, I will say, we haven't quite figured out what the
Yeah, we
services
haven't
would be to
talked
those
about
different uses.
So that and the exterior, the rear exterior, the lower levels of the building. Yeah, we need something that activates that a little bit more attractive than just a bland block face.
So David, does this shadowing represent exactly what you're trying to do? You're increasing the color as you go?
We're changing the
Really?
color across the building,
Yeah.
correct.
Interesting. Good luck.
They're both tan.
I've never seen it either.
That's,
Are those pop-up areas, are they, when they're not used during the winter or whatnot, are they sealed? Is there a door that comes across, or how is that? Is it just an empty?
We're trying to figure that out.
We don't have a door yet, but we will have a door there.
They
I
have
mean,
to close,
it's both during the points when they're not open in the winter, but also at the end of the day. At the end of the day, somebody needs to be able to lock up their merchandise. So
We don't want to become a bathroom.
right.
So that needs to get studied, and we're trying to figure out what the best use, and it's pretty obvious in the summer what we can do. We can get a vendor who's going to potentially be renting longboards or selling some beach-related something, and I think we can have a pretty good luck doing that. It's in the, we're trying to figure out how can we use this in more than just the summer season as well too. So figuring out a way to close it off, to do something, provide some level of service in there. I think we need to try to figure that out as well.
Yeah, and that's the key, to close it off in the wintertime, and to make it look like it's a functional part of the building, and not just a vacant area.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is gonna be a challenge. That's a long wall to deal with.
Is there like an image on the ends of these, or what's?
that is, I mean, these are things that we found in other places. That's actually a mirrored surface, which might be interesting in some areas, but it could actually be problematic when you've got cars driving down the street. So,
Should we penetrate that wall at all with maybe it's a glass or something to see the parking behind there? Because I mean, I know the goal's been to try to hide the parking, but it is a big wall. Is there anything we can do there, you think, to give it some more variety?
yeah, that was I mean, our current idea is that glass block, and the idea that at nighttime all of a sudden it just starts to glow, and you've got all these that kind of sparkle across the whole wall, and it becomes very different than it is during the day.
If it is an arts district, what would we ever contemplate potentially? It's blocking parking, doing some type of art that represents the parked cars behind it. So it's as if you were looking inside a garage, but you're actually looking at a piece of art that's maybe a classic car or something like that. I mean, could we do something like that, maybe?
We could.
All right.
Yeah. So where's your ventilation? Where's the openings gonna be?
It's enclosed parking.
It's all enclosed. Okay. All right.
Just a general comment, with the protrusions that you're proposing here, just keep in mind, some single throughout the
Good point.
That's a good point. That's why we were actually leaning towards this a little bit.
Yeah, you're giving them a canvas to do.
You're welcome, yeah. Very good point.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at that, maybe dummy windows or panels with artwork in it that, throughout that whole face of the bottom level. It just,
The gradient color thing? Yeah, it's interesting.
That's interesting.
this is at eye level. I mean, when you're walking,
is,
you just can't have a harsh wall there. It's a punchy block wall.
Actually, you know
They know that, but it's just.
Paul makes a great point. That and people trying to climb up it.
Yeah.
So
You may want to start up a little. About 10 feet up.
Fair points.
We're in the research process
Being
still.
cutting edge has its
find,
issues.
Yeah.
We can customize something, but ultimately we need to find a partner that can make it for cost effectively, because we don't want to promise something that we can't achieve.
Yeah.
And to David's point too, I think, everyone says, oh, do a great mural or something like that. It's not going to last long enough, right? So it has to be more of a permanent solution, I think, that we figure out onto here. We can have small designated areas for art that gets maybe redone every couple of years or so, but it can't be the vast. The whole thing can't be art in that sense.
I really like that Nietzsche material too. It's like emulates wood, maybe for that with panels in it, the art panels. It's just the block look. It's just a harsh look.
Pat wants to see brick.
I love that. That's basically, wow. Don't kill it, Frankie.
Well, one of the things we did talk about whether we would change it to another material, but you've got, then you got basically two systems back to back, because you've got an enclosure system, and then you've got something to keep the cars back.
Yeah.
Whereas the block wall actually does both. So that's one of the reasons why we've been looking and trying to find that material that we can, instead of spending money on two walls, we spend a little bit more, incrementally more on that one wall and make it a little bit nicer, so.
Yeah, but we hear you, Frank. That and the retail are the two biggest challenges in terms of trying to nail down this design, we think.
But the streetscape will soften some of that wall too. It'll
Right.
be tree lined along the whole back.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you guys know, there is no sidewalk along the back of this building, and there is actually no sidewalk on West Street either.
Yeah.
So,
So what are you proposing? Let's say it's gonna be a 10-foot, 10-foot sidewalk? Show 8 on West Street.
I'm Becky Root, I'm the landscaper. I am.
Yeah.
Which sidewalk are we talking about?
Ocean Avenue and West.
Backside. Yeah, so we've got 10-foot total, so we've got a 6-foot pedestrian zone and a 4-foot planting strip.
Planting strip.
Oh.
West Street's right here.
Oh, yeah. West Street. West Street, we've got 8 feet. 8 feet clear for the sidewalk up to the planting and kind of restaurant amenity space.
So we have quite a bit of grade on the site. So we've got about 7 feet from Revere Beach Boulevard to Ocean Ave. And we want to actually have outdoor seating for the restaurant that wraps around that side, which is one of the reasons why the sidewalk's not wider there.
And your planting strip on the boulevard, obviously it's subject to DCR approval, but the planting strip is going to be closer to the building rather than to the street.
Right, yeah. Working with DCR on some other streetscape projects in the area, they've shown preference for having kind of larger contiguous planting spaces as opposed to doing tree pits at the back of curbs. So that's what we're showing for now. But yeah, you're right. They probably want to look at that.
Crosswalks. Obviously, you're going to have one at the connection from Ocean Avenue across to the boulevard, or the crosswalk of the boulevard.
And we probably need
but
one.
on the boulevard also.
We need one on the boulevard also, yeah.
So there's one there.
Yeah.
And that ties in with your lobby also, for the boulevard building, so you have that close.
The other thing that we need to do in the sidewalk area is we need to ramp and get some, make some elevation changes from the sidewalk to the first floor of the building. The first floor of the building is up at elevation 15. The sidewalk is at 12 or so, 12 to 13. Couple reasons for doing this. One, the obvious one, resiliency and making sure that we're well out of the flood zone in this area. The other reason being that we can't really go down in the lower level off of Ocean Avenue to park. We don't want to build a bathtub down there, first of all. But secondly, the groundwater is so close that we couldn't really build cost effectively lower anyway. So when you look at that section of where we are, as I said, it's about 7 feet. So we need a little bit of additional height there to make the parking work down below. And we've talked to DCR about this idea of having, active intervention in the sidewalk, which would be ramps, hopefully as many of 1 in 20 ramps as possible, seat walls and other things like that.
What about lighting on the boulevard and the Ocean Avenue frontage?
We have not gotten to that point yet.
So the roof line of the building, you're basically looking at a flat roof, no parapet, just a
We'll
No corners.
We'll probably have a small parapet there, and we'll have some screening for the mechanical equipment, because, you know, it will be similar to the other buildings in the area. The systems, at this point anyway, the systems would be, you know, a series of individual units that would line those roofs. But we do have a roof deck, so the 21 Revere Beach has a roof deck on the southern end. Less than 50 people.
Oh, what else are you looking for? You know that.
I do.
Okay, are there any other questions on the architectural? We can go to civil.
Correct. I do, yep. They're small.
Look at the utility plan, which has the utilities highlighted. Utilities are fairly straightforward. The water and sewer will connect to the mains in Ocean Avenue, as well as the gas services. Both of the sites have stormwater drainage systems that are designed to comply with the Massachusetts stormwater standards. There are closed pipe stormwater detention systems on both sites that are highlighted in blue. And the reason for that is the high groundwater in the area and subsurface layers of clay and peat, which don't allow for infiltration. So we've sized these systems to meet the existing peak rates of stormwater runoff for up to the 25-year storm.
It's just detention?
Yes. No. We found that infiltration would work in this area because there's clay and peat. And then all vehicular paved areas that are outside of the building will be treated for water quality treatment, so at least 80% TSS removal. Peat, we've actually did some test bits and we found some clay in that area. Yeah.
Refresh my memory, have you guys been before Concom already?
We have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you have your order of conditions?
We did, but DEP appealed, and so we're working with them for them to approval of their comments.
On what basis did they appeal? On what?
They had various comments on the stormwater system. We had designed the system off of a geotech report, and they wanted us to do test pits in the areas of our stormwater detention. We originally proposed infiltration, and because of those test pits, we switched to the closed pipe system. They had some concerns about the hydrodynamic separator that we had proposed for treatment of the vehicular paved areas, which is really just small areas on the sites. On the Revere Beach Boulevard site, it's this outside parking over here, and then on the other site, it's just the driveway entrance right here. So we're working on with them to agree on a product that will meet their approval.
So you're working to respond to their comments?
Yep, and we've gotten good feedback from them that they will.
It is a very small area because the driveway entrance is actually the same entrance that it's a shared entrance with Surfside that's planned, and that's been discussed with them. So it's not a new curb cut on Ocean Avenue.
Did you go in with a lot of conditions as one project or two separate?
Two separate.
Two separate projects.
Yeah.
We talked about, I mentioned this to David last time, with the proposed restaurant use here, you're going to have to find a spot for the exterior grease trap for that space.
Yeah, we will.
Well, that could be a problem with high groundwater, Frank.
We'll make sure that there aren't any buoyancy issues or anything like that we can run a buoyancy calculation. Actually, if it ends up being on the Revere Beach Boulevard side, it's about, quite a bit higher,
Yes. Yep.
6 feet
Yep.
higher, so it
Yep.
would be above groundwater.
So where have you noticed the groundwater relative to Ocean Ave? What's the depth of it?
At monitoring wells, we've seen it at around 4 feet, but it's actually, and then in the field, it's been a bit closer to 2 feet, so it's high.
Yeah.
And there's a restrictive layer, that's the reason why it's so high.
I see.
Your interior parking is only into the sanitary line?
Yes, yep.
Were hydrant flow tests conducted?
We haven't done a hydrant flow test in this area. We certainly can do that. We will.
You know where the nearest hydrant is there? You know where it's from there?
Yep, so there's a hydrant midway down the lot just north of the Ocean Avenue lot. Yep. You can actually see the benchmark. There's another on Revere Beach Boulevard, and I think this plan cut it off, but it's right around the corner of West Street and Revere Beach Boulevard. It's on the other side of Revere Beach Boulevard. I think it's just cut off here. Yeah.
Paul, do we have a hydrant between West Street and the LA Circle?
No, we're gonna look at that. They're gonna probably.
There's a hydrant in the corner, right?
Elliot, there is, but that's too far.
So you'd like a hydrant on which side? On the Revere Beach?
So you have to do flow tests, see what we got, because if we have, see what we have going on back there, where you're pulling in for fire, where you're coming off the ocean now, right?
Yeah.
So let's see, I'm gonna probably actually do flow tests on both, and see what we got. Because I don't wanna, this is how you're feeding buildings, and you're feeding fire from Ocean Ave, or I know what the flow test is here, you're gonna need that to do your design anyway, then I wanna get a flow test up here, because ideally I'd probably rather have it on a hydrant up here. If I have an issue, I want to get on this line versus I'll get on this line which we're already using systems.
Okay.
What's the status of the solar line Ocean Ave in that vicinity? I know it was clean and lined many years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it has been lined,
What's the size of that? Is that an 18-inch?
It's a 15-inch.
15.
Yeah.
So that goes into a 24-inch, it goes underneath the tracks, then transitions into an 18-inch. So we got a bottleneck on Elliott Road underneath the tracks. So that's something we're looking at, upgrading that sewer line on Elliott Road to a 24-inch. So we have 24-inch. Right now, we go from 24 to 18, back to 24 after you cross the parkway. And that's one of our plans. That's probably where funds will go to from this project for sewer improvement, or part of the II mitigation fee.
Okay.
To upgrade that line.
Do you have your proposed discharge and water demand for these two projects? Are they in the plans, yes or no?
I don't believe we've run the calculation yet, but we can get that to you.
Yeah, if you have that, then we can run it through our model, see what index.
Okay.
Do a soil evaluation study of that mini system.
We do a test.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
All these comments will be in the site plan review letter you'll get. Let's see. The rest basically is DCR's domain, the roadway and the sidewalks, but as you know, a city Revere's policy, reconstruction of all new sidewalks along the front of the property, so we anticipate new concrete sidewalks, granite curbing where needed, granite curb lines for driveways,
Yes.
as well as a streetscape for both buildings. Okay, I guess we can move on to 4050 Ocean Ave.
I think we've talked about it from a design perspective. It's very similar to 21 Revere Beach. It is 5/2 as well. It's a smaller building, it's 73 units. We're not quite as far along on the development of the architecture at this point, but it would be sort of a sister building to the other building. The materials and the quality would be the same. No, it's kind of a passive amenity deck. It's a relatively small, we have a small wooden deck area, mostly for sort of sitting and sunning. Probably be some grills on that deck for the building. And then we've got kind of more wild, if you will, landscape around the perimeter. So it's not, it's either going to be turf or it's going to be kind of like beach grasses. It's not going to be something that's used. It's not going to invite people to sit out there. We do have two means of exit for that space. Right now we have an access from the lobby area where you get out of the elevators, and we have an access towards the other stair, which is at the back of the site.
And that's above the garage. So we're looking to have this as a green roof, correct?
Partially green roof, yeah. Partially deck.
What about the other decks in the tiered sections of the building?
Those are, we'll actually have reduced a little bit in scale. Those will be more private decks for the units.
So all the structures will by code not allow that in rules. I'm not saying you can't, but we have to talk about that further.
Okay.
Talk about kills and everything else.
Yep.
So I have a lot of them come on buildings on Boulevard, but still talk about how it's done.
Okay. So those decks, those will be hard surface decks?
Correct.
Those are just shared by 2 or 3 units, not the whole building, right?
That's right.
So you're still in the design stage for that?
We're still finalizing the design on those.
And the treatment of the garage level at street level for that building? Do you have anything advanced on that?
There are some elevations, but it's the same approach that we've taken on the. You can see it. The one difference I will say on this building, if you look on the elevation of this building, is we're going to try to slope that deck, that roof deck, for a couple reasons. One is, because we think that it's nice to have the deck kind of fading away from you as you're sitting on it, but more importantly, we want to reduce the scale of that wall as much as possible on Revere Beach Boulevard, so, on Ocean Ave. And where we've got the parking underneath the units, we need a little more height because we've got to collect plumbing, we've got to make sure that we protect everything from the weather. But in the corner that's just roof deck, we can actually lower that a little bit. So you can see that sloped wall on the elevation.
Well, those walls really give us an opportunity to express this area in the creative district, this area with some form of artwork. So as long as you're looking in that direction.
Yep.
Any other questions? No. So
Sort of a smaller thing, as far as the addresses go, Ocean Ave, I believe the building is 150. And on the Boulevard, 21 GRA, that's where you can stay on.
Okay.
let's go over permits. I mean, obviously the DCR curb cut permit, the water management permit, DEP, order of conditions. Have you done anything with the DOT for the Mural right-of-way that's behind the building, getting relief approval for that?
That's been filed, I believe.
That's been filed?
DOT.
Yeah, for Gray, I think we did get that, right? For Ocean Ave, yeah. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
that, I believe.
Yeah, we got that, yep.
Yeah.
We got a response from the state too, as well. Frank, is this subject to Revere Design Beach Review Committee?
It is not, it's outside the district. But we're still gonna sit down with them, with outside architectural consultants to kind of review and comment on the building. That'll happen when the design gets advanced, and we'll try to have meetings before that to vet their comments out. And I believe in discussion, there's two architects that are on the Revere Beach Design Review Board. We're going to try to incorporate them as part of the site plan review process for other developments along the beach to get their reviews before we get to the final design stage. David has worked with them in the past, so they know each other. They may see something in there that we miss, and that may be an attractive addition to the building or treatment, design feature that can be incorporated. So at this stage, we're ready to submit, issue a preliminary site plan review report, and subject to you coming back with the finished design products and material for the building. Okay, so keep pressing away.
You get these addresses in drawings now, go forward with them. There's been a few projects that have come on that have had these hyphenated addresses, so they end up on panels and buildings and things like that, which is going to be possibly proposed down the line. So assuming you get these addresses, so if you have it with 21, you want to propose something else, we've got to get that in there.
All right.
That doesn't have to be an original cabin address. I'm not sure which one you want to from, but okay. My initials knew that I was going to sign 25, but
Okay.
21's fine. If you want 21, that's okay.
Yeah, 21 Revere Beach Boulevard. That's good. So that wraps it up for today, and we'll see you back again as you advance your design.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That adjourns the May 29th Site Plan Review Committee meeting.